Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. So this time around, we're going deep on something I think a lot of you have been curious about based on the stuff you sent.
Yeah.
Marlone's book, The Invisible Advantage.
Yeah, this is really fascinating stuff. And
Yeah, we've got excerpts from the manuscript research summaries, case studies. You even sent over a fictional story based on these ideas.
right. And
So clearly you are ready to unlock some serious potential here, right?
oh yeah, absolutely. It's exciting material. And what really struck me is Lone doesn't just promise success. He actually backs it up with some pretty solid research from places like Harvard and MIT.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye too. But he starts off with a pretty bold claim. I mean, he says there's like an 18-month window to tap into this invisible advantage.
Right.
And after that, it gets way harder. So, like, why the time limit? What's the rush?
Well, it all boils down to our brains.
Yeah.
You know, we're wired for pattern recognition. But all this digital stuff all the time is actually making that harder for us.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, the book calls this a pattern gap, where some people seem to just see opportunities effortlessly while others are struggling, even though they're working really hard.
Right.
And this gap is widening.
Hmm.
So Lone is arguing we have about 18 months before our brains just become less adaptable to actually bridging that gap.
Okay, so it's not about just like burning the midnight oil or anything. It's about seeing things differently.
Exactly. It's about recognizing and aligning with certain patterns.
Yeah.
The book actually makes a distinction between what it calls brute cognitive labor,
Right.
which is essentially just grinding away.
Right. Just pushing, pushing, pushing.
Yeah, and then effortless success,
Hmm.
which stems from, recognizing those patterns.
So is this like, are we talking like law of attraction stuff here, or is this like,
No.
like actually grounded?
This isn't luck. It's not some mystical thing.
Yeah.
Researchers have actually pinpointed a specific neural pattern that's associated with this effortless success.
Wow.
Lone calls it the aligned state.
Okay, so wait, so anyone can learn to be aligned?
That's what he's saying.
Okay, what's the benefit though? Besides, feeling zen.
It's way more than just good vibes. Okay, think reduce stress, sharper decisions, faster, learning, all leading to more opportunities.
Yeah.
The book really dives into how being aligned can change how you work, how you live your entire life.
Okay, color me intrigued. I'm starting to get it. Now, before we get too deep into the science,
Yeah.
you mentioned a story that was in the materials.
Right.
What's that all about?
Well, Lone actually uses a fictional narrative in the book to help illustrate his points. He introduces these two characters, Alex and Sarah. They're both analysts at Goldman Sachs. Both went to Harvard.
Okay, so like top of their class?
Yeah, they're doing everything right on paper.
Right.
But Alex is grinding away constantly and just struggling to keep up.
Oh, so relatable.
Right. While Sarah is excelling seemingly effortlessly, even finding time for hobbies and all this other stuff.
So Sarah's onto something.
Right. And she actually credits it to understanding these hidden patterns of success. She even name drops a Harvard professor whose research is all about, cognitive processing and success,
Yeah.
which is a nice little touch of realism.
Okay, so no magic spells, just good old science. How do we access this invisible advantage then?
He calls it the recognition code. And it boils down to three main elements: cognitive flexibility, the recognition window, and the integration velocity.
Okay, break this down for me.
All right, so cognitive flexibility is all about adaptability, how quickly you can learn and apply new information.
Yeah.
The recognition window, that's that crucial 18-month period we were talking about where our brains are primed for this.
Oh, okay.
And then integration velocity is how fast you can actually take these patterns and use them in real-world situations.
So it's a combo of being adaptable, quick on the uptake, and then actually putting what you learn into action. Makes sense. But how does this recognition code actually work in practice?
Well, Lone gets really concrete. He uses examples like this thing called the pattern wall, which scientists actually use to visualize the difference in brain activity between people who are struggling and those who are effortlessly succeeding.
Oh, wow.
So imagine you're looking at a screen.
Okay.
On one side, you see all these chaotic lines representing a brain that's just overworking, trying to force things.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you have these smooth flowing lines showing efficiency and calm. That's the aligned state.
Wow. I can practically see it. So basically what you're saying is when we're stressed and pushing too hard, we're actually blinding ourselves to the patterns that lead to success.
That's exactly what the book is getting at. When we're stuck in that brute cognitive labor, we're missing the subtle cues. And Lone's not just talking about work here. He applies this pattern recognition to finance human behavior, even spotting opportunities that other people miss.
So it's like seeing the matrix, decoding reality itself. This is getting really interesting. Does he talk about taking this to an even higher level? Okay, before we get lost in the matrix here, let's reel it back in a little bit. This book is called The Invisible Advantage, and it's launching soon, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And from all these materials,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like Lone is really trying to make this actionable. You know, he lays out the science, he lays out the stakes, and then he actually offers these steps that you can take to develop this recognition code.
So it's not just theory, it's a practical guide too.
Exactly.
Who's he talking to here then? Who is the target audience for this?
I think he's talking to anyone who feels that nagging sense of like, man, I'm working hard, but is this all there is? You know,
Oh, yeah.
it's for people who are ready to step up their game, make smarter choices, and really see those opportunities that they might be leaving.
So it's not just for like CEOs and entrepreneurs, it's really for anyone who wants to reach their full potential.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. But let's get back to that kind of mind-bending stuff for a second. You mentioned taking it to a higher level. What did you mean by that?
Right, so Lone introduces this concept of the edge state, which is basically mastering this pattern recognition to the point where it starts to influence reality itself.
Well, are we talking like bending spoons with our minds now, or?
Not quite, but think of it as aligning so deeply with these patterns of reality that you start to see how events unfold and maybe even manipulate probabilities to a certain degree.
Whoa, that sounds intense. What kind of examples does he give for that?
So he talks about things like perception shifts, where you literally begin to see the world differently, noticing connections and opportunities that other people miss.
Oh, wow.
There's also this idea of probability manipulation influencing the likelihood of events. You know, it's not about controlling everything, but about understanding the flow and working with it.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this, but is this all just theoretical, or does he actually give you techniques for how to develop these skills?
He gives you a step-by-step guide. He calls it the Pattern Recognition Development Protocol, and it takes you through these different stages of mastering this recognition code. It starts with simple awareness of patterns and builds up to more advanced techniques like training your mind to spot them and even influence them.
So it's like a workout program for your brain.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes effort and practice. But he argues the payoff is huge, making better decisions, spotting opportunities, and even shaping your reality to a certain extent.
This is all fascinating, but also a bit out there, I gotta admit. I'm curious, what's your take on all of this?
Well, it's definitely pushing the boundaries of what we traditionally think of as self-improvement.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really intriguing is that Lone grounds these ideas in scientific research, and then he blends it with these philosophical concepts and, yeah, even a little bit of speculative fiction.
That's what's so interesting about this deep dive. We're going from these practical tips to these mind-bending possibilities, all within this framework of the invisible advantage.
And that's what makes it so compelling, I think. You know, it speaks to this desire to achieve more, to see the world differently, and really understand our own potential on a deeper level.
Okay, before we get too philosophical here, let's remind our listener where they can find this book.
The book is called The Invisible Advantage by Muammar Lone, and it's available on Amazon. It seems like he's really aiming to make this accessible to everyone.
So whether you're looking to up your career game, make better life choices, or even explore the fringes of human potential, this book might be worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's coming out at a perfect time. As we were discussing earlier, the pattern gap is widening the use it. Lone's work feels urgent, almost like a wake-up call to those who are ready to step up and evolve.
Okay, I'm sold. But before we wrap up, what about those more practical applications of the invisible advantage? Does Lone go beyond the theoretical and give concrete examples of how this works in everyday life?
So we've been talking all about Muammar Lone's new book, The Invisible Advantage, and it's clear that he's not just interested in these kind of abstract theories.
Right. He really wants people to walk away with some actionable insights.
Oh, absolutely. He
Oh.
dives into some very practical applications of pattern recognition,
Yeah.
you know, across different aspects of life.
Okay, like what?
From making better investment decisions to understanding people's motivations.
Yeah.
He really gives you frameworks to apply these principles.
So it's not just about like this far off future of, bending reality or whatever. It's about making smarter choices today.
Exactly. Lone argues that developing this recognition code, the combo of cognitive flexibility, the recognition window, and integration velocity,
Right.
it can have a ripple effect across your entire life.
Wow.
He gives these really compelling examples of how recognizing patterns can help you avoid pitfalls, seize opportunities, and even navigate these really complex social dynamics more effectively.
That's what I think is so exciting about this whole concept. It's not just like another self-help mantra. It's
Right.
really about rewiring your thinking to be more adaptable and perceptive.
Exactly. And he goes beyond just saying be more aware. He gives you concrete exercises and techniques to train your mind to spot these patterns.
Okay.
It's like he's giving you the mental tools to decode the world around you.
I like that. Okay, so we've covered the science, we've covered the stakes, the practical applications. What's the overall takeaway here? Why should our listener rush out and get this book?
Well, I think The Invisible Advantage is a really compelling read for anyone who feels like they're hitting a ceiling,
Yeah.
whether it's in their career, their relationships, or even just their personal growth, Loan offers a new perspective on success, and it's one that's rooted in science and backed by these actionable steps.
Yeah, it's like he's giving you a roadmap to a different way of thinking and being in the world.
And he makes a strong case for why this is so important right now. He argues that those who don't adapt, who stay stuck in that brute cognitive labor, they risk falling further behind as this pattern gap widens.
So it's not just about getting ahead, it's about staying relevant in a world that's changing so fast.
Exactly. And while some of his ideas might seem futuristic or even a bit far-fetched,
Right.
he consistently brings it back to practical application.
Right.
He wants to empower people to make tangible changes in their lives starting today.
Okay, final question. If our listener finishes this book, what's the one thing you hope they walk away with?
Hmm. I hope they walk away with a renewed sense of possibility and the understanding that success isn't just about hard work or luck,
Right.
but about aligning with these underlying patterns of reality.
Ooh.
And more importantly, that this is a skill that anyone can develop.
I love that. Beautifully put. So there you have it. The Invisible Advantage by Muammar Lone, available now on Amazon. Go check it out if you're ready to decode the world around you and unlock your full potential.
It's a fascinating journey and one worth taking.
And that concludes our deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.